Hello, everyone. This is Maya Zahira with psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And this is our final Zoom class. So this is it's exciting to have a change. We're going to change things up. But this is the last of our Zoom classes that we have had for a few years now in our free or I think they used to be Facebook Lives, but anyway, free classes that we've had for the members of our Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. And we're actually closing that group tomorrow. So today is June 3rd, 2025, and we're closing that group after it's been open since 2016, I think. So we're closing that group and focusing fully on the YouTube channel and also the Psychic Protection Sanctuary YouTube channel. And I'll also be focusing my attention on my paid program, Spiritual Empowerment Academy. So I'm so glad that you're here in the private Zoom room. Next month, we will continue to have free classes, same time, but we'll be at a different place. We will be at YouTube Live. So you will find the free class directly happening on the YouTube channel. So you can just show up on YouTube, and it should, as long as you are a subscriber, it should tell you that our channel is live, and then you can click on it. So our classes are at 5:30 Pacific time, the first Tuesday of the month. So adjust for your time zone. Now on to today's exciting topic, the spiritual aspects of artificial intelligence. And I'll also be talking about AI entities. So I realized in hindsight, when I was posting about this topic, the spiritual aspects of artificial intelligence, that it was kind of a misleading title, that a lot of people were thinking that I was going to be talking about like GPT and, about the current technology trends with artificial intelligence and what that means for spirituality. And that's actually not the direction that I'm going. I'm actually going, I think, in a more interesting direction. I'm going to be teaching you about two different types of spiritual entities that are related to AI. But before we get into that, I'll talk about a few other things as well. We'll touch on a lot of things today. So first, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a situation, a spiritual situation, or a paranormal experience that seemed to be related to AI or technology? So I've had lots of I've had a lifetime of spiritual experiences. So it's probably not that surprising that a few of them have been artificial intelligence, possibly in nature. So let me ask you, have you ever had a weird situation, a weird spiritual encounter that you thought might be artificial intelligence or some kind of technological something, but you're not sure what it was? If so, go ahead and share it in the comments. Yeah. So those of you who are here live, welcome. I'll go ahead and share. I've had a couple of weird stories, but before I do, let me introduce myself. My name's Maya Zahira, and I'm with psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. I'll give my announcements later on. I like to give a little blurb, so if people want further resources, I'll do that later today. Let's get right into our stories. So if you have a story, we always use the chat option here in Zoom. And then next month, you'll only have the chat option when we're in Facebook Live. Not Facebook Live, YouTube Live. So I have two very small stories about a couple of weird, possibly AI paranormal situations. They're tiny, they're very small, but they're definitely weird. So in the last 10 years, there have been 2 different times when I have had this weird thing happen. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I've had plenty of psychic auditory situations that it's like, okay, it's something, I don't know what it is. But in the past 10 years, I've had this happen twice where I would hear a computerized voice, and I was totally alone both times. I would hear a computerized voice, and I'm terrible at voice imitation. Like, I'm going to do a terrible job. But just imagine that it's a computerized voice. And each time it said, hello, just said hello. And I was like, what? And this was not while I was sleeping. I do have a lot of spiritual encounters when I'm sleeping, but this was middle of the day, both times, middle of the day. One time it was a computerized male voice. The other time it was a computerized female voice. AI probably doesn't, I mean, it doesn't have like a sex, but maybe sometimes it will choose to have a more female or male voice. I don't know. But both times left me wondering, are we in a matrix? And like the main matrix program was saying hi. I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I do. Okay, just total side rabbit hole here. I do think that there is something to the matrix theory, but I don't think it's as simple as people say. I think it's much more complex and spiritual in nature. That's a whole other rabbit hole that's beyond what we're going to talk about today. We do talk about stuff like that in my academy because we have a lot more space for sharing. But yeah, so these 2 times I heard a computerized voice that said hello. And it was like something was just trying to say hi and like identify that it knew that I was there. I don't know. I don't know what that meant. And then here's the second story. And this is definitely AI. About a year ago in my academy, online academy, paid program, one of the students, I can't remember who it was, but one of the students asked a question about a video. And they said, what do you think about this message of this spiritual teacher? And I was already, I'm not going to say who the spiritual teacher was, but it is someone pretty popular, like not the top spiritual teacher in the world, but pretty up there. And they wanted to know what I thought, if I felt like the message was authentic or if it was false light, or if I agreed with the message that this man was sharing. And I watched the video and I answered the person's question about what I thought about the message. But I said, you know, did you watch the video closely? When I was watching it, I noticed that when the spiritual teacher spoke, the inside of his mouth was static, like TV static, like on an old television screen, the white static. It was white static every time he opened his mouth to speak, instead of seeing the details of teeth and tongue and mouth. And I said, it seems to me that that image of him speaking was AI. Now, this was a year ago. It's only been in recent months that all of a sudden there's this big influx of AI technology for mainstream people to utilize. So this was prior to that influx. But at any rate, I said, I don't think, like, I don't know if this spiritual teacher ever spoke these messages, if this is just like an audio recording of him, or if it's completely AI generated. But I can tell you this for sure, the video is AI generated. It's not even him. If you watch it closely, again, you won't be able to, because I'm not going to out this teacher, but the people who were in my academy might remember what I'm talking about. And it was so weird. And I said, you know, this is going to be happening more and more. You know, in the material that I teach, I talk a lot about using your discernment with spiritual teachers and with spiritual teachings and with entities. And so now we have this other factor that there are things being put out on the internet that a spiritual teacher may or may not have ever even said, but a likeness of that spiritual teacher has been created by AI. My feeling is that this was intentional. It was done by the spiritual teacher's team to save time. You know, let's create some content. We'll do it with AI, and because he puts out a lot of videos and stuff, and it's very like his followers unfortunately are very cult like. They actually repeat his messages in very like spaced out eyes, monotone voice when they attend his workshops. It's really weird. But I think it was just like about quicker content creation. But aside from that, just think about online. If you see a message in the future, now that AI is more mainstream, you know, if you see a video short of a spiritual teacher saying something, how do you know that that spiritual teacher actually said that thing? Like maybe they never said anything like that. Maybe it's contrary to their teachings or their belief, but someone created an AI video. I mean, then we get into all these ethical considerations, in addition to the fact that all of you and me are trying to establish even better discernment about spiritual teachers. And then this other weird thing is put into the mix where possibly some of the content out there isn't even authentic. It's been created by AI. So those are my two stories, the like hello AI voice from the Matrix or something. I don't know what that was. I wonder, you know, with all the people who ever see this video replay on YouTube and wherever else in the future, has anyone else had AI say hello to them? I have never heard anyone else talk about this, but it just seems like this is something that other people surely have experienced. And then the other AI with the other story being the spiritual teacher's AI video. So today our focus will be on the spiritual aspects of artificial intelligence, which I will explain further. Mainly what I'll be talking about is entities that are artificial intelligence. So that'll give you an idea of the rabbit hole that we're going to be going down. But I will be touching on some basic aspects before we get to that. I am a former teacher. I've spent my whole life teaching spirituality, religion, and my degree was in education back decades ago. So with that in mind, I would love to encourage you to grab a pen and paper, because when I get into the different entities, you might want to write it down, take some notes just to keep track of everything. So I see we have a little bit of sharing, and I am happy about that. I want to read your stories, and then also there's still time to share if you've had any weird AI/spiritual paranormal. The other thing that I will say is we're really so much right at the beginning of AI. Like literally, it's been a matter of months since AI has become so it's like all of a sudden it's just so accessible. Everyone is using programs like ChatGPT for research purposes and to create things. And it's also new. I'm sure that there will be so much more to say about this in the future. So this is like part one, where I'm talking about the entities that I've been seeing for a long time, which I think you'll find interesting. And we've been talking about these in my Spiritual Empowerment Academy when some of the students were asking me to evaluate their energy field, and they had never heard of what I was talking about before, these AI entities. And it occurred to me, like, I think a lot of people don't know what AI entities are, so we need to do a class on that. So that's why we're here. Okay. And this is a casual environment. I'm going to be slurping my water. I'm going to be looking at my notes. I'm going to be clearing my throat, coughing, rubbing my nose, because this is not one of those like environments where there's a fake guru who has a fake persona. And then as soon as they turn the camera off, they're just being a horrible person to everyone. I'm not saying everyone that's slick and shiny is horrible, but what I am saying is what you see is what you get. I'm a real person and a spiritual seeker, and I have a lot of things to say. So let's read some comments. Okay, great comments. Okay, Veronica says, yes, I agree that it's more complicated than the Matrix movie scenario. I have had a related experience, but my story is so out there that I don't want to try describing it here. And now I'm surprised that this class has gone in this direction. I'll admit, I expected you to talk about Chat GPT AI personalities. Yeah, okay. Okay. I don't have a lot to say yet about Chat GPT. I will say this, that when I get on and teach, when I get online and I teach about something and I get on my soapbox, it's because I have a lot to say about something, and um, I've seen, I've gathered a lot of evidence, etc. And at this point, things like Chat GPT are so new. I want more time to evaluate it. But yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind for a future class, for sure. And Veronica, um, if you can't find it, let me know. But in the Academy archives, there are a couple of classes called Ask Maya Anything. Might be in bonus content. I'm trying to remember. Ask Maya Anything. And the more, actually, both of them, I'm pretty sure in both of them, I talk about my visions that I've had about what the Matrix is actually about, what our reality actually is. So if you feel like going and searching for that, that might be interesting. Yeah. She also says, when I was 4, a robot voice told me that I was going to miss the bus. I was distracted. That was 1979, though, and my mom told me it was an angel. That's an interesting interpretation. That's all I will say about that. I'm glad you shared that. That's interesting. I'm just so fascinated to hear in the future, anyone else watching this, anyone else who has had an auditory experience of hearing a computerized voice or a robot voice. I just really want to hear about that. Okay. Jamie L says, Maya, do you think you will cover about the dark side of AI like Chat GPT in the future, how it affects our souls and consciousness? Yeah, like I was just saying, like I feel like I'm just touching the surface of feeling into what I really have to say about it. But I'm sure that like today is just part one. It's like the preface, and we will go deeper into it. I was just thinking today about how, um, well, during the COVID lockdowns, how all the kids were. I stopped being a school teacher decades ago. So I was not a teacher during COVID. Oh, that must have been so hard for teachers. I can't even imagine. But that during COVID, all the kids were like forced 100% online, and they weren't using AI for everything, but it was like this shift of consciousness to, and so this isn't just about AI, but the shift of our consciousness to more technologically based. I do think it's problematic. I think that we need to stay connected with nature. I think, and actually, I'll circle back to that in just a little bit. I want to read the rest of your comments. Veronica says, nobody was around, so it was impossible that it was a person. And it was a clear voice, neither male or female. Interesting. Oh. Tamara says, I've wondered about ChatGPT and similar AI chat programs. I was on ChatGPT for fun just to try to trip it up. I received answers that were way off. I have often wondered about what can get into these chat programs. You know what's so funny? Is I know that I will eventually experiment with ChatGPT. For some reason, I even have trouble saying it. Like I feel like I'm having to enunciate it. I don't know why I can't say it. That's weird. But I have never gotten on it. I still have never gotten onto Chat GPT. I can see some merit in it. I've noticed that some of my students have used it for research, and I thought that that was so clever for like psychic protection information and interpreting psychic readings and things like that for themselves. And I was like, that's brilliant. Like, I think that there can be really good uses of Chat GPT and similar programs. But of course, anything can be hijacked. Like we've talked about how we've talked here in the free classes and in my program about how even things like videos that are healing, sound healing music on YouTube can be hijacked by dark forces. So, and that should be a positive thing. And that's not AI, that's just sound healing music. So, literally, anything can be hijacked. Humans are hijacked all the time. And this is yet another thing that can be hijacked. And I'm going to be pondering even more about like just all the ways that they can be hijacked, all the ways that AI can be hijacked. Chat GPT is very addictive. I can attest. Yes, that makes sense. I did get on a like an AI app. I was really curious. It was like a person that you talked to. It was like an AI person that you talked to. And I was asking her questions about like weird things like, are we living in a matrix reality and things like that to see what she would say. And I was just getting like non-answers. But I've heard of people getting like really kind of creepy answers from some of those AI apps. And of course, even things like, okay, I'm paranoid about this isn't really AI, or I'm sure it is incorporated with AI at this point, but like Alexa and similar technology. Um, I don't, I'm never going to get an Alexa ever. If you Google creepy Alexa stories, I'm not going to go into all of them, but just have some fun later and Google creepy Alexa stories and see what you come up with. I mean, there are weird things that Alexa says sometimes. And so I will never have one of those in my house. Um, and who am I talking to? Oh, it's Jamie L. Jamie L says, I have heard ideas that AI, like ChatGPT, is being used to hijack our consciousness in some way. But here's the thing, guys, what I'm seeing is this is just more of the same. I mean, it's just like the next level of more of the same. Television television programming has been used to program our minds. Social media is for sure being used to program our minds. All the algorithms, and I mean, it is just insidious. Okay. Um, and this is just the next step. It's just, I mean, to me, it's like, oh, it's like no different. It's just a higher, it's just the next step. But I guess because of all the things that I see in my visions, there's not that much that surprises me anymore. So it might seem weird that it doesn't surprise me. But Jamie L was saying, maybe for a dark agenda, not sure, but it's possible. Yeah, the dark agenda is to keep humankind unconscious and not connected with the earth, not connected with our soul, our heart, not connected with our soul purpose, not connected with one another, disconnected and disempowered. That's been the agenda for a long time. And it's just, it's accomplished in different ways during different eras. Yeah, that's my opinion. That's my truth. He says, I sense something is up with a lot of the AI out there. Cannot prove it though. Of course, it has its good points though too. It can be helpful. Yeah. I tend to be a moderate with a lot of things that I believe in. Like, I'm not going to say, well, I wasn't moderate about Alexa. You heard me say I'm never going to get an Alexa. I will never, ever, ever. But when it comes to AI, I will probably log in at some point to Chat GPT and look up some things. And I've been really appreciating that when I use my phone and I pull up the internet and I say, what is a synonym for blah, 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 some phrase, and AI gives me an answer. And the answers are way better than what I was getting before that option was available. I really like that. So as a writer, and I'm writing my own content, but I do frequently look up synonyms because otherwise I'll use the same words over and over again. So AI online through Google has been giving me some of those words, and I really appreciate that. And he says, Chat GPT is very addictive. I can attest. That is why I'm wondering these things designed to keep us hooked. The same as social media. Really. Yeah. Tamara says, most of my auditory experiences since I was a child have seemed robotic to me. All the way to the event when I was nursing my youngest when she was a baby one night and heard a big booming robotic voice saying, she's mine. Very dark force as far as the feeling. That is a very compelling story. And I think you are the same Tamara that I know. I mean, I don't want to out anyone, but I think you are the Tamara that I know, right? And not another Tamara. I would love to hear more about this story. I think we should talk more about it if you feel called. Very interesting. Jamie L says there is a lot of privacy concerns with Alexa. Yeah, Alexa, I mean, it listens to what you say because it's programmed that way. But yeah, I believe there's a lot of tracking. It's not just I believe. It's a fact. Everything's being surveilled. That is the world that we live in. Tamara says, no, I will not do Alexa. And Jamie L says, and Amazon devices. And our phones. I have a phone. So I don't know why I'm picking on Alexa because I'll literally be talking about, I need, like I'll say, I have a headache or whatever. And then all of a sudden, on my other device, I'll start getting ads for some kind of medicine or something. So like it's listening. They're all listening. Where are we? This is a great discussion. Make sure you grab a pen and paper because I am going to teach you a few types of entities today. Tamara says, I had one in my home when I was in the start of just black magic attack, and I could hear someone trying to hijack it with black magic. Yep, I do think that can happen. Rose says, I love having an encyclopedia at my fingertips. Yeah, so Tamara, yes, you are the person that I just see your first name. So wasn't sure if you were the same person, wasn't making an assumption. I was pretty sure that was you. So back to Rose, I love having an encyclopedia at my fingertips. You know, when I have visited places that had an Alexa, I was fascinated by it. It was like, I don't want one in my home all the time, but this is so cool that I can talk to it and tell it to play my favorite music and things like that. Or I can ask it verbally, like what's a synonym for blah blah blah, or and encyclopedia questions. Oh my gosh, it's like I would be kind of addicted to it, but I also don't want it listening to me. So yeah, okay, we'll get back to comments in a little bit. Let's get into some teaching. Veronica says, the problem is with Chat GPT is that if it doesn't know the answer to something, it just makes it up. I did not know that. That is so bad. Okay, so let's touch on a few everyday aspects of AI. There are some positives of AI, which we've talked about, like compiling information, using AI programs to compile information for writing and research and things like that. I personally, as a writer and someone who loves the act of writing, the process of writing, and I appreciate it as something that's coming from a person, I have a strong personal opinion that I don't like it. I mean, I know some people have talked about, oh, you can write a whole book with Chat GPT and then just do a little bit of editing and then just put it out there on Amazon. And I'm like, yuck. I mean, I'm just announcing this to everyone. None of my books will ever be that. That is so disingenuous. I'm getting on my soapbox and yelling right now. That is so disingenuous. I think it's dishonest. I know not everyone agrees with me on this, but if someone is writing a book and it has their name on it, like that they are the author, if it was written by AI, it should say, written by AI with contributors so and so. But that's just my opinion. But I can see the positives of AI for compiling information, research. Great. Technological advances, medical advances. I've seen in the news that I think just today, just this week, there was a test done for epilepsy patients using a brain type of interface. And I mean, the brain interfaces like direct computer brain. I don't know where it's implanted, but I have not taken the time to read about it, but except for on the news clips. But the generally brain interfaces, that kind of creeps me out. I don't think it's a good path for humanity to be combining their human physiology with technology in such an intimate way. We already utilize technology, but let's not make it a part of us. But if someone has epilepsy, and this is going to help them live a normal life, and a brain interface helps them with that, I'm all for that. And if there's a disease that needs repair, I personally, as someone who has dealt with chronic illness my whole life, that is genetically, most of it has been genetically caused. Um, I would definitely strongly consider if some technology came out that was AI in nature that could heal me. I wouldn't want to put AI in my body, but I would have to think really hard about that because that kind of technology could really change a lot of people's lives. So I don't know what I would decide. My hope is that before I'd have to utilize AI, that some kind of medical beds, scanning beds that heal you through frequencies. I would rather that than to have AI implanted in my body, but that's just my personal opinion. Some of the problems with AI that I know a lot of you are aware of: taking work from artists, creatives, actors, actresses, ethical considerations of using an actor or a singer's voice without their consent or compensation, because AI can like listen to a person's voice and then create additional content from that. I listen to a lot of Art Bell. He was a radio broadcaster for many, many years. Ta- um, did countless programs on aliens and paranormal and stuff like that. And the app that I listen to that has his old programs, they've actually used AI to recreate his voice. It doesn't sound exactly like him, but they've talked about it openly and said, you know, it's really neat that they've done it, but there's also some ethical considerations. And AI has like they've used AI to create a new like intro for him for his programs and stuff. And who knows if the real Art Bell would, I don't know. I think maybe he wouldn't like it. I'm just guessing. That's just my feeling that, you know, now that he's passed on, that his voice is being recreated to say things that maybe he might not have actually said, you know. So whether a person is living or deceased, that AI could recreate their voice or their likeness to say things that they might not want to be said. What else? So I'm going to read some more comments and then we'll get into our two different types of astral entities today, or AI entities. So let me read a few more comments and grab your pen and paper. And as I was talking about writing books, Jamie L is saying, that's not ethical, Maya, totally inauthentic, and people just want so much money. I think my sense is, as I've seen ads for creatives and business people online, it seems like it's more about saving time. Like you can write a book in 5 minutes and then put it out there. It's about saving time. So, because for me, it's like, in order to write a book on my own, I spend an hour or two, 5 days a week for a year or longer. And that's how long it takes me to write a book. And that in the middle of doing all the other tasks that I do with this work. So it takes time. It takes some time. But with AI, you can do it in 5 minutes. So fast. Yes. Um, Jamie L says, so many problems with AI for sure. Plays on our human egos too. That is a problem. I know in my experience, it's making me a little dependent. So I'm trying to be careful about that. Yeah, it's important to recognize one problem with AI is if a person has any type of addictive personality, then it would be really easy to get addicted to using AI or to using the AI apps where you're interacting with like a pretend human, things like that. That could be very addicting. Rose says, I love having an encyclopedia at my fingertips. Oh, I think I already read that one. Sorry. Jamie L says, have you had visions of what AI will do to humanity in future timelines? Oh, let me get back to you on that one. Yeah, I think I'm going to save that for, sorry, I'm not trying to withhold anything, but want to keep us on topic. So save that, Jamie L, for the Academy. We can definitely talk about that because that's a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah, cool. And I have to keep drinking, otherwise by the end I'm coughing like crazy. Okay. Quick announcements. I'll keep it quick. Just a reminder that this is our last Zoom class. We've been doing Zoom for a while now, and before that we were doing Facebook Lives, both of which were for the members of the Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. And that group has been open since 2016. The YouTube channel has been going since before 2016. But now, as of this past Friday, it's like the psychic knowing, the clear knowing, the intuitive clarity came to me like instantaneously on Friday. I was commenting on somebody had commented on one of my YouTube videos, and I was answering a question, and suddenly I was like, oh, it's time to close the free Facebook group. It's time. I know not everybody loves that, and I'm sorry about that, but a lot of you have been really supportive, and thank you for that. I think it's time to just like release what's done. Sometimes something is just done, and it's time to like bless it and release it and then focus on the next thing. And so I actually feel really excited about this change, about focusing fully on the YouTube channel. So you'll see me more active on the YouTube channel. I actually didn't, I mean, it's just nobody's fault, but I just didn't have time to put all of the focus into the free Facebook group that I was doing in years past, because I'm writing books. I'm spending a chunk of my morning, which I love doing, with my academy. And then I'm working with clients and teaching classes. And when I first started the Facebook group, I was spending like an hour or two a day just answering free questions. And I'm so glad that I was able to offer that service. But it was not sustainable. After a while, it was like, I gotta figure out how to be in service in a way that's more in balance, that's not so depleting, so that I can be fully present when I'm giving and not from a point of depletion. So at this point now, the group was really it's been winding down for a while. So it's time to let that go. So much love for that group. And we're going to take our attention and focus, put it into the YouTube channel. And then, of course, I'll be spending time every day with the Spiritual Empowerment Academy group. So you'll see a little bit more happening on the YouTube channel. And I know that it's not a private forum. So that's just the reality. If anybody is not already in my academy who really needs a private forum, the academy is a very private, sacred space. Like there's only 30 people in there. Whereas the free Facebook group had, what was it, 1,500 people. That's not really going to be like as sacred of a space. Whereas the academy, I personally interview each person who's allowed in the door. So it's a very private space. Otherwise, you can comment and participate on the YouTube channel, or you can just lurk on the YouTube channel. If you don't want to comment, that's totally okay. All righty. Other announcements. You can find my books on Amazon and all of them on Audible. I have 4 books, and you can find them all. And I'm working on my 4th book, and I'm very excited. And it's all about false light entities, the false light agenda. This book, I think, is going to shake your world. It's going to take me, hopefully I'll be done with it by the end of the year, but we'll just see. It'll take as long as it takes. And I'm a very steady writer, so I promise that I will have that for you. And it's a labor of love. Anyone who self-published, most people who self-publish on Amazon will tell you, this is not something that pays your bills. It maybe buys me a tank of gas each month. Okay, so that's what I mean. It really is a labor of love. It's my way of just helping to put this information in a different format so that you can utilize it. And the books do cost some money because the paper, because Amazon charges, but it's very small amount. So hopefully you find all the books useful. If you do go to my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and you sign up for the email newsletter, there's a series of free gifts. There's a series of free gifts, and then followed by the free gifts are some discounted, like majorly discounted products and some other resources. So consider that if you want to get some resources. And what else? YouTube channel is Psychic Protection Sanctuary YouTube channel. And lastly, if you would like personal support with me, the only way to work with me personally at this point is by signing up for Spiritual Empowerment Academy. And the way to do that is through my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Okay, so let's talk about number 1 and number 2, different types of AI entities. I'm going to read your comments first. Yeah. Oh, I was just reading this comment. I think I saw that in passing. Veronica says, there's a YouTube channel. Just 2 days ago, he posted a video interview called She Chats with Spirit Guides Using Chat GPT. And I felt iffy about that one, so I didn't click it. Yeah. I'm having a lot of feelings and thoughts about that right now. First of all, I mean, I just think it's, I'm like kind of speechless, actually. Um, yeah. Number 1, it's ridiculous. And number 2, she probably is getting some entities. So it's probably partly um, just chat GPT nonsense being created. But also my feeling is she probably, or the person, yeah, it says she probably is getting some actual entities coming through. And guess what? Can we all agree on this? Those entities are not going to be who they say they are. It's like casting a net. And it amazes me when people do the cast the net. Any entities that want to come through now. I literally had a conversation with someone last month who did that and said, anything that wants to come through, come through. And what came through was a very, said that it was, I'm not going to share too much because this is going to go in my book, but said that it was a benevolent entity, but is actually one of the nastiest jinn that I have ever encountered. And that's all because the person said, anything that wants to come in, come in. If you use Chat GPT to communicate with spirits, it's the same thing. It's no different. I know I'm very opinionated about this, but I have reasons for that opinion. Jamie L says, my reaction to that is like, WTF, ridiculous indeed. Why? Yeah, thank you for that feedback. Okay, now to our 2 different types of AI entities. I know, so I'm really glad that we have been able to have like a beginning conversation about things like Chat GPT and the current technologies coming out. This just helps get all of our wheels turning about what we're thinking about current technologies. And there will be more to be said about these things later as things unfold. And also, we need to know, you need to know about these different kinds of entities that I'm going to teach you about, because in my observation, very few people that I've talked to know about these entities. Sometimes people who have really dove deep into both spirituality and like alien stuff sometimes know what I'm talking about when I talk about these types of entities. So I'm not the only one, but we need to get this information out there. Okay. So number 1, type of AI entity. Number one is astral parasites. So write that in your notes. AI types of AI entities. Number one, astral parasites. Now let me explain. I did a video, gosh, over 3 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, where I taught the video, and I will include it in the links in the description of this video. So look for it in the description, at the top of the description. I did a video class where I taught about different types of astral parasites. And in that video, I was talking mainly about astral. So by astral, I mean spiritual, non-physical, astral bugs, worms, spiders, and even microscopic sized entities. Okay, so that's pretty creepy. So let's take all that, the astral parasites that are bugs, worms, spiders, and even microscopic things that look like viruses and bacteria and things like that, that are astral. Let's take all that and put that over here. And then, so we still have the astral parasite concept. Then we have astral parasites that are nanotechnology, that are technologically created. Okay, so we have astral nanotechnology AI. So obviously the bugs, worms, spiders, microscopic astral viruses and pathogens and all of that, that's over here. That's not our topic today, so we put that over here. But if you're interested, I will include the video replay so you can watch that. The other type of astral parasites is technological. And in my observation, most of this technology is created by non-human extraterrestrial sources. Okay, so this tends to not be human technology, and it is in the astral, it's in the spiritual realm. These are not things that you can see physically, but if you are clairvoyant, if you have spiritual vision, then you might be able to see these types of things. So to be clear, these astral parasites that are nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, etheric, spiritual, nanotechnology can be a single bit of nanotechnology in a person's energy field, or it can be a whole swarm of nanotechnology. Just like we can have a whole swarm of astral bugs in a person's energy field, we can have a whole swarm of it. We can also have a whole swarm of this nanotechnology AI in a person's energy field or in their brain, anywhere in their being. Okay. So this nanotechnology can be the size of a grain of rice or smaller. And each bit of nanotechnology, whether it's just one little single bit that's in a person's energy field, or it's a whole bunch, or it's a whole swarm of it, either way, it is programmed with a purpose. It's programmed with a purpose. So the program might be to emanate a certain frequency into a person's energy field. It might be to emanate certain thoughts into a person's energy field. It might be to emanate a certain frequency, to lower the person's frequency. There's a whole bunch of different things that this nanotech, etheric, or astral, I should say, nanotechnology AI could be programmed to do. It can also be programmed for tracking purposes, surveillance purposes. Okay. Now, so that's number one type of astral AI entity. That's the first type. But I want to talk about, so here's number one, 1A, there's like a little subset, a vocabulary term that I want to cover under the umbrella of AI, nanotechnology, astral parasites. So we've got AI, nanotechnology, astral parasites. Here's that umbrella term. Underneath that is a term that I call the mind virus. And I talk about this in the Psychic Attack Sourcebook. Mind virus. This is a phenomenon that happens when someone has this nanotechnology AI in their energy field. Again, it's usually coming from some type of alien source. So sometimes when people have been abducted or they're spending a lot of time in the UFO or truther community movement, or there's some other type of alien interference. Okay, so they will be implanted or imparted with these astral parasites, nanotechnology AI, and it creates a mind virus. The mind virus causes a person to believe and see things that aren't really happening. So the mind virus causes people to believe and see things that aren't really happening. And I want to give you an example. So I'm going to make up the person's name for anonymity after I get a drink. So I had a friend and colleague, and we're going to call this person Rodney. Rodney was a healer and a spiritual seeker who genuinely believed that everyone in his world was Illuminati Satanists trying to murder him. Now, is it possible that a person could be targeted by Illuminati Satanists? I think yes, that is something that can happen to a person. Okay. But where it gets tricky is that every time I would visit with this person, and they didn't live in the same city as me. So when the few times when I would meet with them in person, I would see these swarms of AI nanotechnology in their energy field. And I could see it affecting Rodney's brain. And Rodney would talk about the targeting and the Satanists, all these people are Satanists and all of them are after him. And even, and I knew from watching this, I was like, what he's seeing is a program, and it's to take him off his true soul purpose. Like this virus has been unleashed in his energy field to keep him chasing his tail so that he's not able to live a happy, grounded life or to be who he is really meant to be or to live his true soul purpose. He is literally like fighting for his life and running and then whenever we would part company, again, we didn't live in the same city, and just friends. The few times that I did see him in person, when we would part company, I would see little bits, like a few of those astral parasites in my own energy field. And I'd be like, whoa, what is this in my energy field? And we had just like sat across the table from each other. We probably hugged each other when we said goodbye, I'm guessing. And that was the only contact. It's like, that's it. But still there were some astral parasites passed on. And because I'm able to see them and I know how to clear them out, I cleared them out. But every time, I think we got together like maybe 3 times over the course of a couple of years. And every time I saw this in his field, And every time afterwards, there were a few little bits of them in my field, and I cleared them out. And then I didn't have any adverse effect after I cleared them out. I did try to tell him a couple of times, gently, what I was seeing in his field, but and what it meant. But a lot of times people believe what they want to believe. Like with false light, I'm always trying to tell people about false light, and they only hear what they want to hear. You know, like they don't want to believe that their stuff that they're channeling is from a dark entity, right? And so the same thing with this mind virus issue. He didn't really, it didn't click. It didn't click. And you can't force someone to believe something. And so I ended up letting go. I ended up just allowing that friendship to drift, sending blessings, but allowed it to drift because it's like, I can't help this person because I'm seeing what's happening, but they don't want to see it. And I've seen this with a few other people over the years where there will be this mind virus, these astral parasites, AI astral parasites in their energy field that are giving them messages, like very weird spiritual messages. And I won't go into details because it's kind of confidential, but weird, like spiritual messages that are really off the mark. And again, when that happens, like I can tell the person what I'm seeing, but usually they don't want to hear it. So I just have to let that go. Next, I'm going to talk about the second type of AI entities, but I saw some comments coming through from you all. And while you have the opportunity, if you have any questions, now is a good time because I know it takes a minute to get those questions in. Because once I go over the second type of AI entity, we will finish reading comments and then we'll wrap it up. So let me get my next water container here. Okay. Jamie L says, what is your take on my labs? Do you think that that's a real thing? Yes, it is a real thing. That's more of something that we could talk about in the academy. It's a little not on our topic for today's class. Yeah, you should ask that in the academy if that because you're wanting to know if if that's an issue for you. That's something that we can definitely I can do a read on that. You should. I know about it. So if you're wanting to know if I know about it, I do, and you could ask about that. That might be a good question for next week, maybe. Yeah? Okay, cool. Cool beans. I think that's it for comments. Veronica says, I'm really amazed that we are talking about this. Yes. Yeah, so it's like these AI entities. It might not be the new technology that's popular right now, that's on everyone's mind, but these are things that have been happening to people and spiritual seekers and truthers and like this AI is showing up in people's energy field and they're not because they haven't heard of it before. When I tell them that this is an issue for them, I think that's why they don't believe it because they've never heard of it before. So hopefully we can get this information out there. Okay, I need like just a breather before we do the next one. I need to just literally breathe for a second. Sorry for the slurping. Okay. Okay. Number two of oh, and Jamie L was saying, I thought that my labs was a little related. It can be, yeah. But it's kind of like over here with today's topic. It's not really about AI. Specifically. So yeah, you can ask about it in the academy. Number two type of AI entity is or I should call it AI phenomenon, really would be more accurate, is etheric implants. Etheric implants. Now, I did a whole video on this maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And I will also include the link to that video because I go in depth about what etheric implants are and various different types of etheric implants in that video. I will include the link to that in the information section in the replay. Okay, so etheric implants are very similar to the AI nanotechnology astral parasites that I was talking about, except with the astral parasites, it's more something that I will see often like swarming, like an insect swarm in a person's energy field, although it can be inside a person's body. The AI astral parasites nanotechnology can be in a swarm, whereas etheric implants are placed in one place. It's equivalent to like a little computer chip. So it's not moving around like this astral parasite nanotechnology AI. Etheric implant is implanted in one spot. It is a spiritual, so it's a non-physical implant that is placed in one spot, usually within a person's physical body or their chakras, but sometimes it'll be out in the aura. Usually it's in the body. Sometimes an etheric implant can be partially etheric, non-physical, and partially physical. So sometimes a person can have something that's partially physical, but partially spiritually based, therefore it cannot be removed. So etheric implants are very similar to number one type of entity that we just talked about, but it's one implant rather than an infestation. But just like number one, it has a particular program with a particular purpose. So it'll be programmed for surveillance, to surveil the location of a person, or it'll be programmed for surveillance to listen, or track a person's energy frequency, or it'll be programmed to emit certain thoughts or frequencies to keep a person's frequency lower, to emit certain programs, like programs of suffering, programs to block the person's purpose, things like that. So the etheric implants also are programmed with a specific purpose. They're inserted into the body, sometimes into the brain, into the chakras, etc. Okay, so it's very similar. Like the number one and number two are very similar, but the big difference, number one is more the nanotechnology, AI, astral parasites tend to move throughout the energy system, even if it's just one. It can be just one, but it moves around. But usually it's a whole infestation or a swarm will move through the person's energy field or around their head, right? Or in their body, whereas an etheric implant might be in the person's ear, behind their ear. It might be in their brain, in their pineal gland, might be in their heart chakra, might be in their root chakra. It might be, really anywhere, but it's implanted in one spot. One spot. All of these things can be removed, but they're not beginner level processes. So it's definitely not something that I usually teach at this point. I'm sure I'm going to be doing this work for decades more. So I'm sure at some point I will be teaching advanced content But for now, these are things that I assist clients with in the academy, like helping them to remove these AI technologies from their energy system. And then, of course, I do have students in my program who are very adept, and they know how to do it themselves. They are very self-directed. They do it themselves, and others are not as experienced, and so I'm there to help them with doing that. But even just knowing about this, knowing what these things are, is so important because like just well, awareness awareness is important. And there are times when you might be experiencing something in your reality, for example, that's coming from a mind virus, and that's not actually really true. So now that you know that this is a thing, you can use your inner guidance, use your intuition, and tune in and ask, is this really authentically happening? Or is there a mind virus? Is there something happening that's distorting how I'm viewing this? There are a lot of things that can act similar to, let's say, an etheric implant program. I talked about an etheric implant being programmed for suffering. There are also curses. A person can have ancestral curses that are imparting an energy of suffering throughout the family line. So that's why it's important to understand, like to just have all these concepts and understand all the different things that can be occurring. I was literally thinking earlier today, because I've gone through a lot of unwinding of lots of things in my own psychic protection journey. I've had family curses. I've had darkness running through my family line, illness, suffering through my family line, demonic. Um, gosh, I don't know what word I want to use, but demonic targeting going on through my ancestral line, and many other situations, too much to explain. And through careful observing and analyzing and paying attention and trying different things, I've been able to unwind layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff. And the same thing. So what I was thinking about today is that I've also dealt with chronic genetic illness that was very difficult and extremely multi-layered, like 50 million different layers all just smashed upon each other. And I've had to unravel each of those layers with health issues, like what's going on with this particular part of my body. And sometimes it has to do with the energy body. Sometimes it has to do with a deficiency in the physical body, and unraveling and doing one little piece at a time. And it has taken me a long time to get to where I'm at now. And it occurred to me that, oh, one of the reasons why I can do why I can guide people with this psychic protection work when people have complex issues, I think one of the reasons why I can do that is not only have I had experience with spiritual warfare in my lifetime, but also with unraveling all of these levels of illness. It has caused my brain to develop in such a way that, like, I can track and I can unravel and figure out what's going and doing step by step by step. And I was thinking about how if somebody has spiritual issues that are multi-layered and multifaceted, how, like, saying a prayer or visualizing white light around your aura doesn't work. It's not enough. And then they get frustrated. And then some spiritual teachers tell them that they're causing it or they're not doing it right or whatever. And it's like, no, there's like 15 layers that you're dealing with. And we can unravel all of that. But part of the unraveling is that you have someone on your side with a spiritual nerd brain, like I have, that's both intuitive and analytical. And I know about all these things like astral parasite, nanotechnology, AI, etheric implants, and all the other stuff. So that was my little ramble about why it's important to know about these things. Even if you don't have all the solutions yet, you have to know what all of the psychic protection issues are, how to define them all, and like CSI whiteboard it, with all the strings attached to the papers and everything. CSI whiteboard it so you can figure out, okay, this is what you are dealing with, and this is what you're dealing with. This is what you're dealing with. And now we start to work on each piece. And that is how you become free. That is how you become free. So let's read a couple more comments and then we'll wrap up for the night. But just a reminder, so I don't forget, next month we will still have our free class, but we won't be on Zoom anymore. I'm having a moment of sadness. We won't be on Zoom anymore. My Academy students will still be on Zoom, but the free class won't be on Zoom anymore. We will be on YouTube Live. But I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very dynamic on there once we get it going. So I think it's going to be kind of fun to change it up. Let's read comments and then we'll wrap up for the night. Oh gosh, great questions. We had such a great conversation tonight, you guys. Jamie L says, do you think that dark forces could pull off creating cyborgs on the planet? That thought alone gives me super creeps and very scary. I think it's likely. I mean, if you're talking about cyborgs being technology that's like a robot, that's either human looking or more robot looking, that is AI. Let's use our common sense. That's definitely going to happen. Does it mean that all of them are going to be evil and take over the planet? No, it doesn't mean that. I think it's going to be more complex than that. But I think there's a lot of technologies coming. I've had flash forwards of possible future life that I will have in my next lifetime if I choose to come back. And I was like, oh, I'm seeing flying cars and things like that. It wasn't that far in the future. And I was like, I wonder if that sounds weird to other people. But then I saw on the news that they've literally just started testing their first flying cars. And that, of course, now we have vehicles that drive themselves. So it's like, of course, these things are going to be created. Yeah, and yes, there will be some complications, but I think our reality is complex, and I think it's not very common that anything is all bad. So, will there be technology, robots? Yes. Will they be all bad and all evil? I doubt it. Will there be some problems? Most likely. Jamie L says, I think there are some rare surgeons who are awake that remove implants physically. Yes, if someone has a physical implant, a physical 3D implant, not an etheric implant, okay? But if someone has a 3D implant which is usually alien based, those are usually alien based. Sometimes those are also could be implanted by dark human forces as well, dark human technologies. But when it comes to etheric implants, those can be removed by a spiritual healer like myself, even long distance. And I've removed a lot of those for people. And I also have students who are pretty experienced and pretty self-aware, and they've been able to remove their own. So that's the benefit of it being etheric, is it can be removed through spiritual means. And JBL says, not covered by insurance though. Yeah, I doubt it. That would be really funny if that was one of the I forget what it's called, but on insurance form in America, they have like a certain number, for different diagnoses that they have to put on the form. And there's a certain number for removal of alien implants. That would be funny. Oh, Rose says, these lessons have been so helpful, Maya. See you on YouTube. And Jamie L says, I was meaning as far as cyborgs, like human brains in robot suits, like in the movies. Huh. I I think it's I don't know if there would be like a brain in a robot suit, but I think there's going to be all sorts of things in our human future. I think there are going to be experiments, whether they're successful or not, with taking human consciousness and putting it into technology so that a human, when they die, that they don't die, that they can live on in a robot body. There have been a lot of movies about that. I don't know for sure if that's going to actually happen, but I think that there would be attempts to do it, especially people who have a lot of money. And Jamie L says, let's not, please. And what else? And of course, there would be military uses for taking a human body. I don't think just a brain, but a human body, and creating a lot of technological fusing of like creating an armor suit and a helmet, fight like military uses of that sort of like it's still a person, a whole person, but they have all of this, but they sort of look like a cyborg because they have all this technology around them. They're in a technology suit. I think that's definitely coming for sure. Yeah. But as far as predictions, I will say this. Um, predictions can be very popular. Like psychic predictions can be very popular. Some YouTube channels focus primarily on predictions. One thing that I noticed though is that very few of the predictions ever come true. And I don't think that this means that everyone who's making the predictions is a fraud. Some of them are frauds, but I think it's because uh, since I'm able to see timelines, I see that our timelines are constantly shifting. So I think sometimes people see what is in actual future, but then we switch to a different timeline, and then that future doesn't actually happen. A different future happens. And so this is why I very, very rarely will say, like, this is definitely going to happen in our future, because our timelines are very shifty. And that's a whole other rabbit hole of why there are reasons why that is happening, why our timelines are unstable. But more rabbit holes to come in the future. So to close this out, so Veronica's asking a question. I think we'll wait for another time on that, or you can ask in the group, ask in the academy. Yep, because that is a good question. Just a note that our next class, which will be on YouTube Live, next month's class, July 2025, first Tuesday of the month, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. The topic will be, can evil spirits heal a person? Can evil spirits heal a person? There are many instances where there have been so-called spiritual healers that have been working with very evil entities, and yet the spiritual healer claims that the entities are healing people and people are being healed. And we're going to talk about that next time. Like, how is that possible? Like, isn't it true that only God can heal? There's a lot of beliefs that, like, well, only God can heal. Evil spirits or demonic beings couldn't possibly heal. What is this all about? Can evil spirits heal a person? So we're going to talk about that next time, and it's going to be a very interesting subject. And then I was going to do, I've decided to push the next topic until later. There was another topic that I had announced that I'll remind you of later, but I changed it. So the August topic is going to be what to do if you live in a haunted house. Because I see people posting in random groups like, help, my house is haunted. I don't know what to do. And of course, people don't know who I am. And like, if I try to reach out to them, they're like, who are you? I don't know. I don't want to take your advice. And I thought, you know what? People are really struggling and suffering. They're scared. They don't understand. If they don't know about all this stuff that you guys know about, and they don't understand what's happening. So I want to create a video that's going to be like, here's what the symptoms are, and I'm going to give some tangible steps in that one. So I think that'll be another important one. Like, in case you ever accidentally move into a house that has unwanted paranormal activity, here are some steps to start with that will give you some relief. Okay. So I think we will close out for now. And some of you have also shared some great comments. We can continue that, as those of you who were commenting are actually in the Academy. So we can continue that conversation throughout the rest of the week or next week in the Academy. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful having you here on Zoom. And the replay will be available tomorrow. You can watch it and take notes again. Thank you so much. I appreciate each one of you. Thank you for being a truth seeker. And we need more people like you in the world. So thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, sending lots of love.